Hello, welcome in. If you're here listening to this podcast, that means you are destined for something great, and we both know it to be true. So without further ado, welcome to the Dark Matter Podcast. Hello, and welcome back to the Dark Matter Podcast. Today we brought on another guest in Lin Yuan-Su. Her work actually is very similar to what we do. I actually didn't realize this until recently, but she is also a mindset trainer and strategist who helps high-achieving, heart-centered professionals break free from limiting thinking and create success that actually feels aligned. After walking away from a perfect on paper career, Lynn rebuilt her life from the inside out and now teaches mindset, awareness, and alignment as the foundation for sustainable success. Her work reminds us that strategy matters, but only after the inner shift happens first. Super excited for this conversation. Welcome to the podcast, Lynn.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Devyn.
So let's just get right into it. And I think we'll start right there because I feel like this is now 2026. I think a lot of people are in a 9 to 5 or they are an employee and they want to now shift into being an entrepreneur, working for themselves, being their own boss. Now, looking back at your own journey, what was the most difficult mindset, maybe identity to release? And how did you know you were finally ready to let it go?
It was right there. It's the mindset of, for me anyway, is the mindset of being an entrepreneur and versus being an employee. I didn't even know it was a thing until I started to, because part my work is emphasized on mindset and awareness. And I always believe as a coach, the first client of mine is always myself.
Mm.
And when I was on my own journey of growing my own awareness, I realized, wow, all the work I have done in my previous quote unquote life, and being educated as a registered dietitian, somebody who works in healthcare, that was all employment mentality.
Mm.
And I struggled so much when I first just took the leap of faith, if you would call that. Um, I thought now I have all the time on the planet Earth. I can really focus on building my business. And I was struggling really so much with procrastination. I didn't understand why at the time. Later on, I realized it was because part of me was looking for people to give me direction. That was very much of that employment mentality. All right, give me a job title, give me a job description, give me something to do. Somebody tell me versus being an entrepreneur. You're the leader, you're the boss, you're it, especially at the beginning of your journey. At that awareness, that shift, that's why I believe, to yourself or anybody who is a business coach, a strategist, is so great to have that support structure. So, especially at the beginning of your journey transitioning out, so you don't get lost or you don't sit in front of your dining room table just like beating yourself up in your head because you have felt like, oh, I didn't do anything again for today. It's so important to recognize that and to make that shift.
You're absolutely right, and I feel like that is a big, not trap, but it is a bucket that people fall into because they're waiting for the direction. But then when you realize, like, hey, I could sit here on my computer and watch YouTube all day, and I can do that. No one's gonna tell me that I can't do it, but then you just don't move the needle forward in your business with the money producing tasks. So for you, I know you mentioned like mentorship in there. Is that how you kind of then went? Like, did you seek a mentor? Like, what did you do when you realized that, you have to really be the one to take things forward?
Yes, when right after I discovered my passion to be a life coach, a mindset trainer, whatever title you would call it, we work with people's minds, right? And we work with people's overall success trajectory for the future. And I right away I knew I wanted to have a teacher, somebody who can show me. Maybe that's part of it. It's also coming from this employment mentality, but it doesn't matter. I start to look for a mentor, somebody who can show me to be a really good coach because I want to be the best I can be. I spent 9 months looking for that mentor. And I call that period online dating. It's literally like online dating. You put your profile onto some website and they will call you. You're like, wow, you're very nice, but I don't feel the jive. You don't feel the electricity. I didn't feel the electricity. That's why something I always say when either potential clients approach me or I have a conversation with just anybody who is looking for a coach, or a strategist or any sort of supporting structure, the first thing I always tell them is you want to find somebody who is an energetic match with you. What does that mean? Is you feel so easy talking to them. You feel your connection, this mutual beyond respect, but this mutual connection. I spent 9 months. I did not find that person. I was about to give up. That is when you relax and kind of surrender, the universe is like, it's here, honey. Um, that's when I was literally talking about YouTube. I was scrolling through Facebook and boom, this sponsored ad. I never clicked into any sponsored ad back then anyway.
Right.
But for some reason, I just felt called to click into that video. And that person is my mentor today. She still is 80 years later. She changed my life in so many different folds. So yeah, I do have not just her, many other mentors I've studied with. So I believe in any success, it is so crucial to have a mentor of some sort, of some form. Again, it's different for everybody, but it's very important for you to discover what is that, what does that mean for you? What does that look like for you? And to explore that and to have that person or group of peoples in your life.
Very well said. And I'll kind of look at that for a moment and just comment on it. I don't think seeking a mentor is an employee thing. I feel like most employees just kind of just get their hourly pay and then they're happy kind of doing the things. Most
Right.
people don't really want more responsibility or to do that unless they're in like corporate and they're trying to rise through the ranks. So I love that you did do that because I feel like most people don't do that. Either, they don't want to invest money, they don't have the money to invest, or they think, oh, well, I already know this stuff. And so they end up just spinning their wheels for months, sometimes even years, right? When they could have just, brought someone in to really show them the ropes. And it's kind of like being your own best client, right? Like if you aren't investing in yourself, if you aren't learning all the time, if you aren't paying for coaching, then why would someone pay you to coach? You know what I mean? It's like it just doesn't really make sense. Now, I know a big thing that you like to talk about is the internal narrative. And I know a lot of people think that their circumstances are the problem. But how can someone begin to recognize when it's actually their own mindset keeping them stuck? And what's the first honest question they need to ask themselves?
Wow. Wow, Devin, that's loaded. Awesome. I love it though. Um, I was trained as a registered dietitian. I did 2 degrees. I have a master of science. I was heavily science trained. What is science? Science is all about evidence, all about let's do a study. Let's have the data prove that something a theory is real or not. And that was my mentality. And here's the thing, something I truly believe. I believe we're spiritual beings having a human experience. There is all part of us, whether you call it God, call it universe, divine. There is a part of us that knows what is our truth. When I was so heavily trained as a registered dietitian, I was also working um, as a dietitian. I was working with the First Nations population, and within my workplace it was very much encouraged for us to have traditional healers or elders coming in to do workshops, talk about their spiritual understanding, talk about their traditional teachings. And I was so privileged to have those opportunity to sit with them and listen to what is the wisdom within our First Nations communities in North America. And it was so amazing that I resonate with. None of that was was evidence based, quote unquote. I'm using air quote, you cannot see. And yet I felt it in my heart, and that is the first place. If you're listening to this, you're like, "Whoa, mindset is all who stuff." I get it. I was there too. And but if you ask your heart, if you connect with, take a breath, you're just like, yeah, I don't get it, but I think it makes sense. Then that's when you know you're ready to open your mindset and awareness. Everything of our own experience is our own brain's interpretation and
Mm,
our own thinking to have a relationship with whether things happen with a circumstance, with a situation, with a condition. None of that none of that is more powerful than you, than yourself. You may say economy sucks. You may say clients keep saying no. You may say nobody is buying nothing. You can say that. Maybe that is a level of fact, but fact is not truth. What has happened is not the truth. The truth is, yeah, globally we might go through, still going through some tough economic times. It's temporary. So we're not going to stuck here forever. That is a truth. You can go through a challenging time. You're not going to stay here there forever unless you subscribe into the victim mentality and say, I have no more power than what is outside of me. And I guess it's all in your thinking. And then later on, when I realized, of course, I was not a psychology major, but later on, I realized this is all psychology as well. It is all science. Even energetics, when we say and everything is energetic match, law of attraction, law of energy. Why it's called a law? Just like law of gravity, law of electricity. If I stick my finger into an electrical outlet, I know what's going to happen. Why? Because I know I respect the law of electricity. For that reason, I don't do that. Same energy, everything is energy. In modern science, what do we call that? Is quantum. Is quantum physics. So when we really understand what this whole thing about mindset and energy, then if you're willing to open your mind to study any of this, I promise you it's all going to make sense. Especially if you're listening, still listening to this point, then you get it. You get it. It's just a matter of time for your logic side, for your human side to catch up. And that's why it's so important to whatever you do. It might be as simple as reading a book to grow yourself, to do some personal development.
mm. Very well said. And you kind of touched on something earlier and then you touched on it here again. It's the energetics piece. And I absolutely love that because, for my girlfriend and myself, that's kind of what we do too. There's so much information, there's so much knowledge. You can use AI to figure out anything. Why would people invest with you? And it's because of that feel. It's because of that energetics. It's not because you're a sales master and you know how to handle every single objection. Because even at that point, people can still say no, even if you know how to handle every single objection, but they won't say no if they actually feel that alignment. And so I absolutely love that, energetics and like your thoughts really do shape your beliefs, right? And there was this audiobook I listened to all the time on repeat, and the guy says, when your attitude is right, the facts don't matter. And like you said here, facts they're just it's not the truth and they can change. And when your attitude is right, there's so many things that can shift. Now, I do feel like we're in a very skeptical time though. So what would you say to the people? Because you're right, like anyone that takes the time to actually learn about energetics, really takes inventory of their thoughts and their habits and their unregulated or unchecked beliefs, because beliefs are a huge thing too, right? Everyone might think like, oh yeah, I want to achieve $10,000 a month this month with my business, but then when you actually start digging deeper into their beliefs, their family had challenging times with money. They've never had that. So like you realize there's layers deeper. So how would you encourage people who are skeptical or maybe unaware of the beliefs and maybe their thoughts and things like that?
It's whatever you're saying, I had a logical answer, and yet my intuition is saying just go back to your breath, because this is science, right? If we look at our nervous system within a human body, we have two major nervous system. One is called sympathetic, the other one is called parasympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic nervous system is basically our fight and flight. When we are coming from fear, when we are questioning, oh, this is just who stuff, is not going to work, whatever that is when there we all have that part of ourselves in our DNA, nothing wrong with that. is we don't want to operate from fear. Why? Because if you operate from fear, everything you do is going to create more fear. Even
Mm,
if you think, want my $10,000 a month, and how come I still create more lack? It's because in our subconscious, in human subconscious, is up to 95% of our thinking. That is the majority. Why is called subconscious? Because we don't know what's going on. And it's like, I use an analogy of it's like you have toilet paper behind your rear end. You walk out of public bathroom, people are giggling and laughing. They're talking about you, but you do not know why. That is something behind yourself you cannot see. That is your subconscious. It's not about to dig into your subconscious to see what is holding me back. It is about take a deep breath and calm your nervous system. The minute you take a breath, a calming breath, there are so many different breathing technologies out there. I'm not a breathing expert. There are even people who just focusing on breath work. Awesome. Go find something that you resonate, right? Something I do always with my clients is you inhale through your nose and you exhale through your mouth, like with a perked lips, like you're breathing into a straw. It doesn't have to be a deep breath. Give it a go. If you like it, go with this one. And that immediately will calm down your nervous system that is fight and flight. When you're calm, then you can hear your truth. Muhammad Gandhi always says, we God is speaking to us at all times. I'm paraphrasing. I don't know the direct quote. Don't memorize the direct quote, but God is speaking to us at all the time. It's just we don't hear it because God never shouts. God is always whispering. Again, whether your reference is God or divine or universe, your own true wisdom is speaking to you at all times. But if you're coming from fear, if you're coming from this chatter, busyness within your head, you don't hear your own wisdom. It's as simple as take a breath. Again, if you resonate with mindset, with energy, then create this calm energy because this calmness is in alignment with abundance.
mm,
Gratitude is the same energy as abundance. If you're coming from lack, I'd better get some more customers, get some more sales. You're getting. That is a lack mentality. It doesn't matter how much money you make. Trust me, 1 year I made $780,000. At the end of the year, I felt lack. Why? It's because of my mindset. It's not because of my circumstance or my situation. So this is why it is so important and why I am so passionate about, you know, work something in your mind coming from this gratitude, coming from kindness and love. Truly believe human nature in our spiritual truth. We are all filled with love and kindness and respect. And I believe when we do that, not just our own lives will be filled with abundance, whether it's money or love or support, whatever we want. And also, we're making this world a better place. I truly believe that.
mm. Yeah, I love that answer. And that's a golden gem for those that are listening because breathing techniques, there's Wim Hof, there's so many of them, right? But I think just in taking a moment to do any of the breathing techniques, it can really slow down the pace because I feel like we're always go, go, go. And a lot of us, we're always on screens, right? And the blue light and the screens, it kind of messes up with our minds. It does, for people that are on the screens all the time with no breaks, it really can play with your mind. So I love the idea of breathing techniques. And there's a book, Stress Less, Accomplish More by Emily Fletcher. In her Ziva technique, she also starts with a breathing technique in her 15-minute meditation, which I love. And there's another one that I listen to, the Monroe documents or the Monroe Institute. They're on you on in Spotify, and they always start with breathing techniques. And the breathing techniques are so underrated. And I remember when I used to play soccer, I used to play provincial, so it's the second highest tier in all of Canada. And I remember I would never get hurt. I would never get injured because I would do breathing techniques and I would keep breathing until I found the spots that felt like stale old energy and I would keep breathing until it cycled out and then it was like fine and it's just so powerful and I love that answer. Now, how do people distinguish between fear dressed up as logic and true intuition? Because once you quiet down, you start to get things everywhere, right? But then how do you distinguish between the two?
I wish your listeners can see my face when you ask the question. Ooh, that is such a great question. That was a question I spent years to discover the answer. At the end of the day, I realized that actually doesn't matter. Just focus on your own intuition. Start
Mm,
with, all right, it's okay. This is a human logic, right? Our human logic is like, oh, give me the how. I want to know the how. I want to know it right now. You got to be patient. It's gonna take time. The truth is, as long as you're breathing, you have an intuitive side of yourself. My mentor always used this analogy. It took me a while to understand exactly what she's saying, but I'm going to share it here. So think of somebody you know very well. Maybe it's your parents, maybe it's your sibling, your best friend. Let's say they call you from a place where they don't have caller ID. You answer it, they just say, "Hey, Devyn," you know exactly who is talking to you. You don't. They don't need to say, "Hey, Devyn, this is your mother or father or whomever." Like you know who they are because you've invested time in building that relationship.
mm,
Same between you and your intuition. Right now, your intuition is call you every single time, every single day, and it's like, "Hey, Devyn, I have a download, I have a wisdom," and not for you, but when I started, I was like, who's that? They go, who's that? And and I refuse to listen because it does not make any sense. And then as through the years, and my intention for everybody that you can truly shorten your journey if you're very intentional about listening to that side of yourself. And a practice you can do, everybody can do is again, go back to the calm, breathe, calm yourself down. And from that calm place, you simply ask a question. You can ask, what is my job to do on this planet Earth? Like as big of a question as that, or what can I do to make that $10,000 income this month? Just entertain with that and listen. Keep breathing, keep staying calm, and just listen. And next step, if you don't want to take it to the whole other notch, write everything down.
mm,
Don't judge it. And there's no good, there's no bad. At this point, you just write everything down that's flowing through your intuitive side. And some of it is going to be your logical answer, doesn't matter. But this is a practice where you can start to distinguish, oh, that is coming from my logic and that is coming from my intuition. Your logic side can give you really good answers, but very often you will be amazed by what your intuition is giving you. Another very powerful thing, your intuition rarely tells you why.
mm,
It's not like, oh, do this because. It's because it's coming from your logical side. Again, nothing wrong with that. It still can be very powerful. It's if you want to intentionally develop your relationship with your intuition, just listen to a very calm whisper, and that just says, do this. And you just go, why? No, just do this. But tell me why. Just do it. Okay, fine, I'll do it. And then if you do it, you will be like, whoa, this is incredible. The result that showed up. And that is the way, I guess, for anybody. It doesn't matter where they are right now. You can start if you resonate with what is being shared here, that you have an intuitive side. It is very powerful. Sometimes we all have intuitive stories, and when we listen to our own intuition, we're just like, whoa, my intuition told me whatever, and leave my house 10 minutes early. It turned out there is a car crash on my route, and there was a delay, and because I listened to my intuition, I didn't ended up be late for my work or whatever it is. Find those evidence, find those stories for yourself, and be intentional to develop your own intuition. It is a mental faculty. As a matter of fact, anybody here have ever heard of the late Bob Proctor? I've studied with him. That guy is so intuitive, not because he was born with a gift. He was born with a gift, but he intentionally developed his intuition for 61 years, and that's why he could stand beside you. He could sense something. He would say something. You just go, how do you know that? Well, it's because our intuition knows everything. Um, And that is a start.
That's such a great answer. And again, another golden gem there because just taking action, I think, is better than trying to, because it's kind of like busy work, right? It's like, is this fear or is this logic? And then you end up just spending so much time rather than just like moving forward and like kind of taking it as you go. And I get it. We live in such an instant gratification world. It's like if I want the answer to something that I don't know, I can look it up right now. So, for something like this, where the more time that you spend with it, the better you become. That's why I'm grateful for my gaming because when I was gaming, it's like you have to spend a certain amount of time before you move to the next level, whereas everyone wants to be level 100 when they don't have the skills, the beliefs, none of the things yet. So I absolutely love this. This has been such a great conversation. And I guess for the listener, that they got so far here, they feel pulled towards something. Maybe they're starting to get some of those downloads, but maybe they don't really know how to decipher it yet. What's one grounded step? And I know you've kind of mentioned a ton of different things from the breathing and the journaling and just taking it a step forward, but what's one grounded step that they can take forward without maybe like burning everything down or feeling like they're burning everything down?
Right. I feel this might be a little bit of counterintuitive of what you ask. It's actually to make a decision,
Hmm.
because when we are in this indecisive mode, should I leave? Should I go? Kind of, should I stay? Should I go? Kind of mode. That is when everything started to become very slimy. I have two young kids. I don't ever buy slime for my kids because, like, no way you're bringing that mess into my house, because it's just sticky, it gets everywhere. Energetically, if you can imagine that, that is when you're not making a decision. You're staying in a soul sucking job. Been there, done that. I know at times you simply don't even know that you're in a soul sucking job because you feel like, yeah, everybody's saying I'm so successful, I get paid well, but I just hate it. But I'm going to go into work anyway. Nothing wrong with that. Is start with some gratitude, practice some gratitude, and from there make a decision. What is your next step? Doesn't mean you're going to quit, you're going to charge into your CEO's office and just quit in the spot. You can give yourself a plan, you can decide for a plan, you can decide to apply for a different job, you can decide to start doing something that makes your heart sing. Maybe you love karaoke, I don't know, but make a decision that you're going to go karaoke every single month. Like, put that into your calendar. Make a decision on something that cuts off that sliminess, energy. That's when you start to feel, "Ah," and that is when more and more clarity is going to come.
Hmm.
And I promise you, if anything, if you are in a situation where you just feel very, very unhappy, if you're willing to make decision for something, again, doesn't mean you quit your job right now. I don't recommend that because we don't want to make a decision coming out from fear or frustration. You want to make a decision coming from peace and love.
Hmm.
You quit because you know what is your next step. You quit because that is something that is very, if anything, that's very neutral. I was when I was at the end of my career, there was one point literally, I after a meeting with the CEO and all the executive team, I literally want to throw a chair at the guy. I don't know why. I don't remember why. It was my own frustration. It has nothing to do with him. But thank goodness I did not quit at that moment because I cannot imagine what kind of mass that was going to come out from that. Thank goodness I had a coach at the time who
Hmm.
reminded me of gratitude, who reminded me of coming from this breath and calmness. So I left that, I closed that 8 year professional career on such a high note. They even had a little luncheon for me when on my last day, and they ordered pizza. And that was something I'm forever grateful. But it wouldn't be possible if I continuously to hold on grudge or hold on to this hatred. It's my relationship in my own head with that job.
Hmm.
So even just from there, that you will start to see your life start to change. You're going to start to notice your feeling. You're going to feel better. And from that place, and then everything start to unfold. It's not, nobody takes from the base camp all the way to the top of Mount Everest with one leap. There is a journey. Apparently, there's like 4 or 5 different camps as you summit Mount Everest. It just like game. You play a video game, you're like, day one, boom, level 100. Woohoo, good for me. No, it takes time. Level one is easy. That's great. And then if you're committed, if you love this, because it gives you something, even just pure joy, keep doing it. You will get to level 100, but you got to take your steps.
Hmm. Yes, it's kind of like never make permanent decisions in a temporary situation. You know, have you ever heard of that? It's like people get emotional and then they end up doing something that ends up being permanent, but they don't really mean to do it. And so I love the idea of like when it feels right to do it, and you know when it feels right. We've all had a situation or a circumstance where we made a decision and it felt right. It felt aligned because it wasn't rushed, it wasn't emotional. It was just it was time, you know, whether it's a relationship or a job, like this could be used and applied across so many different aspects of your life. And so I absolutely love that. Lynn, this has been incredible. For people that want to learn more about where they can find you, what you're up to, your coaching, things like that, where can they go?
Enlightenedsuccess.com spelled out. So enlightenedsuccess.com. Or you can just look for my name. My name is pretty rare with a hyphen, with a hyphen. On different social media platforms, you will find me. I'm absolutely passionate about human potential, about just like supporting anybody who have a desire to do more, be more, have more, experience more, and whether it's to work with me or to simply have a conversation. And I highly recommend every one of your listeners, especially for people who have been listening to every single episode of yours, is to start having a conversation with somebody. Devyn is right here, just like have a conversation. He doesn't look like a guy who's going to bite. Even if he bites, you're on Zoom, you're all good. So start that conversation. That will take you so much further than where you are right now. I promise you. So do something, make a decision, do something, and life is absolutely fabulous. It's up to you to discover and receive that.
Well said, Lynn. And I normally end it with like, what's the one final takeaway? And that's kind of it, you know, and that's what happens when you're intuitively guided in these conversations. You kind of know the answer before the question even comes. So I absolutely love it. All the links to connect with Lynn will be down below as always. Thank you so much. We're currently in 39 countries and growing, so please continue sharing the show, doing all that stuff. Thank you so much for being here, and as always, I'll catch you on the next one. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, comment, share, subscribe to it all. You know I appreciate it. And as always, I'll catch you on the next one.